Mr. Coles.
Is that an educated bowler shirt you're wearing?
I'm sure they can work something up for us.
We never actually got bowling shirts.
Yeah, well, when Ruth gets back, we'll have Ruth on the show. We can have a thing about breast cancer diaries.
Okay.
A show about that. She could maybe be involved in the show where
Well,
we go
that's one woman
when we go to Boyd.
who hasn't
maybe-
yet agreed to be on the show.
Maybe Beth.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's indicative that Marshall doesn't hire enough women. You know, probably. What's the ratio there in the English department?
Yeah. Well, there probably are only 5,000 or 6,000 women in Marshall,
12,000. Well, I'm talking about
or maybe 7,000 women.
people that we come into contact with. You know, maybe we have to go to Pappy's on Thursday nights. Try to meet some women.
Of course, then you can't film.
But I mean, do you agree with me in this righteous faith? It is a real problem. I think.
No, it's not a real problem.
I think it has, probably a negative impact on our audience. I would think less of a group of guys, but maybe that's a problem.
Well, it's true. It's true. I would say it's true that it would be great if we had a woman on the show who really wanted to be on the show,
Yeah.
and who like just enjoyed hanging out and shooting the shinola.
Yeah, Lisa doesn't. She hangs out, but she don't want to be on the show.
What's Shinola? What is that?
Yeah, something around mesh. Most of my education comes from just television shows. So by the way, I'd like to invite our viewers to send us love letters. Not love letters to us, but if you have love letters that someone's written to you, or that you've written a good love letter to somebody and you saved it, you Xeroxed it, or you have it on file.
Or if you're willing to Xerox it now.
Yeah, whatever. Send it to us. We'd like to have a show where we go over a lot of different love letters and talk about love letters, because it is a viable subject for us. The other thing I wanted to bring up is...
I think before we move on, these don't have to be happy love letters. I mean, these can be breakup, kiss-off letters, too. I mean, we'll take anything.
Is that really a love letter? Isn't that like
But don't send us, don't think we can give them back to you. So send us a copy. That's where your Xerox is.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah, and send them where? Where would they send them? Maybe to Bame's house.
Sure. Yeah.
Where should they send them? We don't have a P.O. box. So.
What's your address, babe?
South.
South 4th Street.
Yes.
That's 400 South 4th Street.
Marshall, Minnesota.
Wait a minute, apartment 2.
Apartment 2. 400 South 4th Street. 400 South 4th Street, apartment 2. Marshall, Minnesota, 56258. So that's for any kind of letters. If you didn't want to send it to chufflavers@hotmail.com. Chuff, CHUFFLAVERS.
Yeah. There might be love emails that those you could just forward to us at that address.
Exactly, that would work
Who
too.
chose the accessible email address?
Fuck off, you fuck.
Now, can people use your address if they just want to stop by and hang out too? Would that be okay?
Depends
They
on
want
who
to
people are.
use my address to hang out?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
They could just stop by.
He never answers the door unless you call him first.
Yeah. I look through the peephole, and if I don't know who you are, I say,
And they should expect to see you.
He looks through the peephole, and if you haven't called, even if he does know you, he'll let you.
That explains a lot of wasted trips.
But, okay, my other point is, if you want to email us or send us letters about your ugliest and or prettiest sexual TV moment. What I mean by that is any moment on TV that you felt to be the ugliest and or prettiest. For me, let me start off with mine to give you a picture of what we're looking for here, what we're going for.
mental picture.
I just came up.
Okay, mine is my ugliest sexual moment on TV ever resonates with me is the moment wherein Richie Cunningham says, "I found my thrill." You know when he he says that? You remember that? He would say,
No.
found. He would do this kind of bizarre thing where he'd be like, he'd go into character almost, and he'd be like, and it would be conveying his sexual feelings for, he would see a woman that he like wanted to, let's not even say it, but he would, and then he would be like, found my sweet. And it was like his kind of comical like admission that he had some part of Fonzie in him or something, but it was really disturbing and awful, and it stayed with me. My prettiest sexual moment on TV was when on Homicide, when
That's Homicide: Life on the Street.
yeah, Falzone was dating the Italian woman. What's her name?
Oh, yeah.
Julia.
Well, I know what you're going to say too. It's when she watches him boxing.
Nope.
No.
It's they have been told by the sergeant not that they can't date or whatever, so they're kind of like have a distance between them or whatever. And he comes up to her and he's talking to her and he has this nectarine. And he's talking to her and he takes this nectarine and he's like, takes a bite out of it, and then he's like, takes his whole tongue and he's like, up this nectarine, and this bitten open nectarine, his tongue like goes all up the length of it as he's talking to her. It was like the most powerful. I mean, I couldn't believe it was on television, but in a way, but then of course I realized that, as far as what they censor on television, they just censor the most obvious stupid stuff, and they never really could glimpse anything which had any real power to it. But it was really remarkable, and just kind of sustained me.
I thought of it while you were speaking. I thought of a hideous television romantic moment in one of the NBA Finals when Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson felt the need to kiss each other in a very fake way over and over again at the beginning of games. It was tiresome.
They kissed on the lips?
No, I think on the cheek. But it was really sickening because it seemed like something that was staged. It was like Lisa Marie and Michael Jackson sort of.
You think that was
sort
staged?
Of a kiss. By the way, that's too obvious. Lisa Marie and Michael
I
Jackson.
don't even know if we saw him kissing anyway. Joe doesn't think that was staged anyway.
You don't think so? I think
It's
it was.
pure love.
I mean, I think after the first one, they
First
thought,
one,
I don't
what?
remember who kissed who, but I think they felt like, oh, we're doing something cool here that nobody else does. We're expressing our basketball love or whatever. It just looks stupid. I mean,
Basketball.
Sounds like jealous.
A little bit of a homoerotic crush going on.
He kissed me in basketball. Played for years.
Is that entirely true?
Yeah, it is entirely sad to say.
What about?
I did have my
You
sweat
know-
handle, but that's
You had your sweat handle?
Yeah, yeah. You've heard about that.
Yeah.
I have a vague recollection. But what about? I heard you had tried out for that Minnesota WNBA team.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, I was just trying to get like,
Too small.
too small, too slow, too old, But, yeah, I would like to say it was short and sweet, but it wasn't sweet.
Short and bitter.
No, they didn't take me seriously, and it was nothing, really.
You didn't fit into the locker room atmosphere?
No, I'd rather not talk about it. I was mistaken for ball boy, People were always asking me for stuff. I mean, I didn't know where any
You
of the
trying to
stuff...
say you?
I mean, I would have done it, just to be part of the team, but I didn't know where any of the stuff was. I mean, they'd
You
send
trying
me...
to say you have one testicle?
No, I'm not trying to say that.
You said ball boy.
It's... No. But they'd ask me for water. I mean, I'd be gone for a half an hour because I didn't know where to get water. I didn't know where the jug was, whatever, I mean, and you have to be very careful now because they can't drink out
What do
of
you
the
think
same
of George
container.
Bush?
What do I think of George Bush? Oh, pizza's here. Let's ask the pizza guy what he thinks of George Bush.
You guys better come over here.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Tim Bice, or Professor Tim Bicey.
No, Tim Dicey Bowler.
Tim Bicey,
Yeah.
bowling man.
Yeah.
Local,
Average of 140, 143.
local bowler.
Something like that.
Obviously, you're qualified to answer this more than any of us, probably. What do you think of President George Walker Bush?
That's George the Younger, right? George Walker. The other one's Herbert Walker, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
I didn't say Herbert Walker.
well, he's our president, and in a time of war, we are obligated to support him, even though he's, of course, proven again and again that he's just about a complete moron. But I'm behind him 100%, and, if he calls me, I'll be right there behind Dan Rather, lining up.
To do what?
Stand in line, whatever W decides I should do, I guess.
Okay. I thought you meant something else.
He's, before the campaign really got into swing, somebody, I think it might have been Michael Moore, who has his own trouble. He seems to have a lot of trouble telling the truth, but
Does he? What?
they're finding all kinds of stuff, a lot of sloppy research that he's done where his facts aren't quite right, they're a little skewed toward his perspective, and it doesn't seem to be a right-wing smear campaign. It's coming from the left. The left, of course, much more intolerant among its own of people who distort things, and Michael Moore is Michael Moore is starting to feel the wrath. I don't think he's been associated with the KKK for years. Bush either.
Bush was too high on cocaine most of the time to be associated with anything except for
to attend regular meetings.
Yeah, or to do anything except for party.
Most likely. But
what's the difference between George W. Bush and Marion Barry?
Marion Barry is black and George W. Bush is white. That's one difference. Marion Barry got caught.
The only difference?
Marion Barry got caught. He was taped. But of course, no one would.
But that's
would
implicit
presume,
in the idea of black and white is that if you're black, you get caught. If you're white,
someone will try to tape you. I can't imagine the situation where people would have put a camera in George Bush's.
Could you imagine a situation where somebody would tape like what Nixon was saying and what like Lyndon Johnson was saying and things like that?
Other than Lyndon Johnson or Richard Nixon. that sort of scenario.
The amazing thing about those tapes is that they come out and like they're saying all this kind of racist, bizarre, criminal stuff that they're saying, and nobody is alarmed, and it doesn't affect anything.
Right. Well, we just had a column in the local paper of someone apologizing for Nixon, saying he was just a patsy, he didn't know what was going on, and of course it's his exploits are well chronicled in his own taping system, but there are those.
He was a patsy who set up his own.
Yeah, he didn't know what he was. The right side of his brain didn't know what the left was doing, or something.
He was in that position of incredible impotency, American president. What could be more impotent?
Thinking recently about George W. Bush, and one of the things I like best about him is that he just wades in. He's not one of these guys who stand by the side, held back by lack of knowledge or lack of skill or lack of ability in any kind. Just imagine for a minute, if you will, the prospect that we have in this country of finally getting our education system fixed. I think it takes someone who is largely ignorant and willfully so to make the kinds of changes that will bring about a reform of public education in this country. I think if you take away some of the money and if you bother teachers with more tests and maybe do some of the things that Texas does, like not provide benefits for 40% or whatever the figure is, something like that, and they're full-time teachers, and put them in crumbly school buildings, you can't help but have success in your education system, and I applaud George Bush for having the courage.
No, but you need to tell the audience now that you're just kidding.
Why would I need to tell the audience?